Mark, let's come to you first. We've talked, it seems, for quite a while about the sharing economy, but do you think we're just on the start of that journey?
I absolutely do, yes. When it comes to sharing cars, which is what the Zipcar specialises in, we've done a great job of getting the early adopters into car sharing, but our next challenge is to go mainstream. The reason for that is that that's what our cities really need if we're to relieve the congestion, the parking stress, and of course the pollution that we face day to day. And
of course your company is, you provide the cars that then people share. Is there going to be an evolution of the business model into sharing existing cars that people already own, or is that somebody else's job to do?
I think we're going to see all kinds of models emerging over time, and in fact the model you just described, that kind of peer-to-peer model, is something that's already out there, absolutely. So over time I think we'll see different models, and we'll see people using them for different types of trips as they see fit.
Alex, are businesses increasingly turning to the sharing idea?
You're talking about large businesses?
Yeah.
I think it really depends on the sector. So if you look at, say, the automotive sector, BMW has invested in ParkatmyHouse, and the industry as a whole has moved very positively towards this trend. Whereas if you look at, say, the accommodation sector, actually some of the large incumbents like Hilton and Marriott, Intercontinental and so on have actually responded really with fear and panic, and they've turned more to lawyers, I think, than innovation. So it really does depend on the sector.
With innovation often comes problems, such as problems about planning permission, and you came across those problems. Various councils said, we'll fine you if you rent your car parking space out, but those problems have been overcome, haven't they?
Yeah, that's right. So there's a thing called the use classes planning order, which basically says you have to operate a certain type of property within a certain type of area. You can't open an office block in a residential area. And some councils were saying that by renting out a parking space or a driveway on ParkatmyHouse, you were turning your home into a car park, which we thought was manifestly silly, and I think most people thought was silly. And as a result of this, people were getting letters saying you can ultimately get a fine of up to £20,000 just for renting out your driveway, and these were sort of very middle-of-the-road, law-abiding people who were obviously getting an awful shock.
Yeah.
That became a little bit of a media storm. The government intervened, and fortunately now there is guidance from central government saying that homeowners can rent out their driveways on ParkatmyHouse.
Do you think then, I mean, both of you, do you think that have the authorities made it easier, reduced red tape to enable these types of sharing economy businesses to grow them? From your example, they have.
Yeah, I think they broadly have. It's a very difficult thing to do because a lot of these companies are doing things that haven't been done before at scale, and so regulators and the government are always going to be playing catch-up. But I think broadly speaking the government's done a fantastic job. There was actually a round table put on a few months ago where George Osborne spoke specifically for sharing economy companies at Downing Street, and I think more broadly what they've done with innovation, things like EIS, SEIS, EMI, share option relief, it's all been incredibly positive.
You've done some research, haven't you, Mark, at Zipcar about how much Britons could save by embracing the pay-as-you-live economy, you know, by shunning traditional ownership of goods and services. I mean, are we literally heading in that direction, you know, an era where we shun owning goods and share goods? I mean, what are the stats that you've uncovered?
Well, the survey that we conducted towards the end of last year showed that around about half of the country are already using shared services in some way or other, that they're saving around about £530 a year by so doing. And when you kind of multiply that up across the adult population, that's over £12 billion a year that they're saving. So it's already happening. And I think, you know, the key to this, I mean, sharing itself is not new. It's an ancient form of communities working together. It's just that perhaps as we've become a bit disconnected in the last 50 years or so, today's technology allows us to reconnect through the broadband, through our mobile apps, and then exchange goods and services face-to-face. So it has this other value, which is reconnecting communities too. I suppose Mark, with his product, has some degree of control over the user's experience of the product. When the user finds the Zipcar, they've got some idea of what they're going to get. But with your product, ParkatmyHouse, Alex, you don't really have much control over the state of the parking space, do you? I mean, what's to say that the user doesn't get a dreadful experience for whatever reason, and then associate your company, rightly or wrongly, with that?
Sure. So yeah, that's the case. So Mark's company, Zipcar, will own the assets, like you're saying, control those. ParkatmyHouse is a peer-to-peer model. Actually, what you find is that these systems work very well because of the review system above all. So on ParkatmyHouse, there are more than 200,000 reviews.
So if someone writes, this space is so small I couldn't get my car in, or impossible to find,
exactly.
or whatever, then other people won't book it.
You know, we managing this company find it quite phenomenal, but people leave very, very granular and helpful reviews about parking spaces. And also you've got to remember that the people renting out their parking spaces, and that's more than 20,000 families, small businesses on ParkatmyHouse, are micro-entrepreneurs. They're highly incentivized to do a good job. If they don't do a good job, they're not going to make much money.
Can the ownership model thrive as well as the peer-to-peer model? Mark, both models will survive in the sharing economy, do you think?
Absolutely. I think there will be, if you take car sharing, it's very well suited to urban environments where space is at a premium and people need a car only occasionally, because most of the time they're travelling on public transport, actually. But it's also about time of life as well. And I think that, you know, when people are single and they're working hard, it suits them absolutely perfectly. As they move further out of town, have children and settle down, maybe they do need to own a car. So it's a temporal thing as well.